Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popping the Popcorn. I'm your host, Katie, and today we will be talking about the movie Hocus Pocus. And I'm here with my two friends, Jen and Allison. And if you would like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/popping the popcorn. And I would like to thank Amy and Dana from the Run Eat Drink podcast and Josh. How are you guys doing today?
You're doing good?
How are you?
I'm doing good. So, we will be talking about the movie Hocus Pocus, and it's one of our favorite movies and a movie that we can all agree on that's a good movie. What do you guys think about the movie overall?
It's
I mean,
probably one of my favorite movies.
yeah.
Definitely something you can watch not just at Halloween because it's fun.
Yeah. I've personally been watching it since I don't even know. I know since at least I was a little girl. I want to say I was maybe 10 or 11 when I'd seen it the first time, even though I was born in 92 and it was made in 93. So I thought that in a sense it was kind of made for me.
Right. Yeah, I watched it. I think I watched it when it came out in the movie theater when I was like 5 or 6 cuz I
Yeah.
was born in 86, so I was like 5 or 6 when I watched it. When did you first watch it, Jen?
um, Probably around like 7 or 8. It wasn't like I guess, movie that I was into when I was, 5 or 6. But once I watched it, it was kind of one of those fallback every every opportunity I got to watch it, I did.
So, do you guys have any favorite characters that you like in the movie?
Hmm. That's a hard question. Um
They all play off each other so well that it's hard to pick one really. I mean, I think Winifred really is probably like the center focus point of everything, just because she's the older sister in charge of all of their schemes. So I guess if I had to pick, probably her.
yeah, I would probably if I had to pick right here right now, I would probably pick Danny. Even though I couldn't really relate to her, is because I have a younger sister, so I could relate more ish to Max. But Danny, for me, like I was always told I was really mature for my age, and I always thought that she was really mature, like the way she handled things in the movie.
Yeah, I would have to agree. My favorite character is I like the cat Binks because he's just so funny and cracks me up.
Yeah.
But out of all the sisters, I think I like Winifred the best, just because she has the funniest lines sometimes in the movie, and I just think she's like the best one out of the witches, I think. But Sarah Jessica Parker is also really good as well. She just plays that role so funny because she plays like the dumb witch or like the clueless
Mm-hmm.
like witch,
Yep.
and she
Boys
just
will
cracks
love me. Yeah.
yeah, and she just cracks me up because I'm just like, what is she gonna do now? Like in the beginning of the movie where they come back into the house and she's trying to find the rat's tail and she's like, where's my lucky rat's tail? And it's just so funny.
I was just surprised that she remembered where it was. I mean, you got to think like it was 300 years later, and she knew exactly, like, as soon as she walked into the house, she knew exactly where she put it.
Right?
I'm just
Yeah.
saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't.
I don't remember stuff from yesterday, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't remember what I ate. Like somebody will ask me, "What did you eat?" I don't know. You know. So do you guys have a favorite scene in the movie?
How about the entire movie? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you could say that.
Um,
I love when they're at the city hall party and they just break out into music. Probably one of the highlights I think of the movie because it just shows how much power she had over the adults, but still was fun at the same time.
yeah, I did
Yeah,
really like that song that she sang too, Winifred.
Yeah.
I put a spell on you. I think that's the name of the song.
Mhm.
Yeah, but she like put like her own twist into like making her own spell into that song. which I thought was really clever.
Yeah, I also like the costumes too in that part, in that scene where the mom's playing Madonna and the girl's like, "Who are you?" "I'm Madonna."
Yeah.
And I don't, and she's like, "I don't know who that is." The look on her face is like, "I don't know who Madonna is." And then the dad's like a vampire, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping, I mean, I wouldn't know what characters they would go as, but I was hoping that it'd kind of be like the cliche thing, like where they do like Bonnie and Clyde or like a couple kind of costume, but
Right. Yeah, that would have been kind of cool too because who like Madonna and a vampire, that doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, well, I mean, it could have fit their personalities as a person, but I don't know why they chose it, but
Maybe they didn't, maybe it was a low budget film at that time because there's a lot of low budget films at that time and maybe that's all they had.
yeah, maybe. I think I decided on what I'm going to talk about for my favorite scene. Like I said, I love the entire movie. I've watched it hundreds of times, but I think what I thought was kind of cute was when they went to quote unquote like Satan's house
Oh
and they laid their brooms on against the fence line, and then you had these mini Sanderson sisters take the brooms. I just thought that was kind of funny.
It was cute.
It
yeah,
was.
and I like that scene also, but my favorite scene is when they're like running about the town and trying to figure out the town and like, you know, in the part where they go out of the house, they don't understand that the road and they're calling it a river. That part's so funny too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's firm. And they think it's like a river or something and they can't cross it. I think that's also really funny as well.
I love
Uh,
seeing Winifred's face and Mary's face. Like they just kind of looked at each other. They're like, we're just going to sacrifice our sister and see what happens.
Yeah.
right?
She's in the middle.
I,
Gotta go.
right. And then I like also in that scene where they're at the devil's house and they're like, "Master," and the wife's like, "What in the heck's going on here?" "No, they're not, he's not your master." I thought that was funny.
Yeah. I was going to say, another favorite scene that I have is when they're in the cemetery, and I think it's Max who like takes like a tree branch and like basically like decapitates Billy. The zombie is what they call it in the movie. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah. That seems really cool. And then Emily, not Emily, Danny's like, "Oh, here goes the here goes your head."
Yeah.
And then what do you guys think of the scene when Max lights the black candle?
I think he was trying to be the typical teenage boy and trying to show off for the pretty girl in high school or whatever.
Yeah, and try to not be afraid and just be that
Right. Like
cocky, arrogant
Yeah.
teenage boy.
right. Yeah, that's most teenage boys. Even nowadays, even like when we were growing up, nowadays they're the same way. You know.
Yeah.
And I just think it's oh, I hear the train now. Sorry guys.
Yeah, told you.
It's alright.
I even have all the windows shut too. But anyways, go on.
Sorry guys about that. There was a train in there. What was I saying? I even forgot now. But what I also like about this movie is it's a family movie as well, and all families can watch it together. And there's nothing really bad in the movie. There's a couple of scary parts, but it's not like too bad.
I always consider it as a funny, suspenseful movie. Like it's kind of suspenseful in some parts where it keeps like the adults engaged, but like you said, it's not like too much to where it like freaks out the kids or anything.
Right. And it has kind of those underlying tones for adults that a child wouldn't necessarily pick up on until they're older, like the bus scene and when she asks for children and the bus driver's like, "Oh, it might take me a few tries, but
yeah."
So it definitely has those adult tones to it, but a kid that would just go right over their heads.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. What did you guys think of the scene after he lights the candle and the girl goes, the virgin does the lights the candle? I was like, how does a little girl know that? Like, I don't even know how she would know that. Maybe because she heard him say it or something.
I mean, maybe, or maybe some kids at school, like older kids, I don't know.
I was just like, that's weird how she would know something like that. But she's smart for her age as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know. So, what do you guys think in the beginning of the movie when Thackeray's asleep, Thackeray Banks is asleep, and he's looking for Emily? What do you guys think of that scene?
I think it's a good kind of intro into how dedicated he was to his sister, and that
Hmm.
regardless of what we know is going to happen, he wasn't going to give up. He was going to figure out a way to get his sister one way or another.
Yeah, and I think that's also something Big Brother should do. Watch out for their sisters because you don't know what kind of trouble they can get themselves into as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it could go either way, too. Like, I know I'm really protective over my little sister, even though she's not little anymore. But I, like, whenever I see her, like, I always picture of, like, the 6, 7-year-old little girl that I grew up with, basically.
Right. Yeah. I have a older brother and I have a younger brother. So my older brother looks out for me, my younger brother, but my younger brother looks out for me, and I'm like, wait, you're younger than me. I should be looking out for you, but nope.
Yeah.
Because he's like 6'2". He's like 6'2". So I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm your little big sister. I don't know.
I was about to
And
say, my sister is a little bit taller than me, so I feel a little small compared to her, but
right. So so what do you guys think of the book? The book used to freak me out as a kid with the one eye and then it has like human skin on it and stuff and like stitches and all kinds of stuff. What do you guys think of the book?
as a
The spell
child, it
book.
terrified me. Is like with the eyeball, I didn't like the fact that it moved.
And it had like eyelids, and yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
was.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The book is
But what I
really, really
didn't
creepy.
know, I would say what I didn't notice originally, because I've probably watched it in the past 2 weeks, seriously, probably like 10 times. But what I didn't notice up until a couple weeks ago was like the binding and like on the corners, there are snakes around it. And I
Oh, I
did
never
not
seen that.
realize that. Yeah, if you go back and watch it, and I'm terrified of snakes. And I wanted that book. I wanted it as like a decoration. And I'm like, I'm not getting that book anymore. I can't have any form of snakes in this house. So
Right. Do you guys think the movie still holds up today, even though that it was done in 1994 or 93?
I think
I
it's
think it
such a
does.
classic that
Yeah.
it's always going to be.
And also it's a cult classic movie as well, and everybody there's such a cult following to this movie. A lot of people like it and a lot of people do not like it.
Yeah, I
um
think it just depends on what kind of movies you like. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because I was looking at the cult classic list the other day of movies, especially Halloween movies, because for the Facebook page and the Instagram, I'll be doing Halloween movies for 2 months, and I didn't realize that it was like one of the top like cult classic movies for like Halloween, and I just found that really interesting.
really,
Mm-hmm.
was it with like the normal Halloween movies, or was it
Um,
with more like Disney movie, or was it just like in general?
just in like general.
Oh, okay.
It's also with like the Disney movies. It's one of the top like Disney Halloween movies that you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more like with everything. Like I saw Jason in there. I saw Halloween and stuff like that in there as well, because those have cult followings as well.
Yeah.
Um, but what do you guys think of the witches' costumes? Do you guys like the costumes?
I think they perfectly fit their personalities. As far as like Sarah's was more risque, and Winifred's kind of just had in charge
I was about to say it
look
had
to
like
her.
superior, yeah.
Yeah. And Mary's just fit her. It was just
Mary's
her.
just Mary.
Yeah.
Right.
Mary's just Mary. I
She-
personally would not like say Halloween costumes. You would not catch me in any three of those. But I will agree with Jen and say that they did fit perfectly with the characters.
Yeah, I think so too. And I like Winifred's because it's green and it's gold and it's just pretty. And Sarah's, it's nice too, but I think she just has too much showing there, you know? And
Yeah.
then,
Well, I think that was kind of the intention because she's like the flirtatious one out of the sisters and stuff.
Mhm.
But
right. And then Mary's, hers was like nice and like refined and it was like pretty too and had a lot of colors in it. But I think Winifred's because it's more of a solid color because she's more of a like I guess kind of like a complex character versus the other two because the other two kind of just goof around,
Mhm.
especially like Sarah. I like the part where she's like saying amuck 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 and then Winifred just punches her in the stomach.
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts is when Sarah goes around and be like, "Dead man's toe, dead man's toe," and she just keeps singing that. I don't know why, but I sing it along with it every single time I watch it.
Right? She reminds me of Johnny Depp a little bit when he's playing Jack Sparrow and he's kind of drunk and she just kind of reminds me of like being drunk or something.
Yeah.
I mean like I know she's not, but it just kind of reminds me of it. And what do you guys think of them using just their hands for powers versus a wand? Do you think they should have had a wand or do you guys think it was fine with just their powers in their hands?
I never thought about that.
I think the powers in their hand made it more that they weren't wizards, that they were witches. I mean, I guess it could really go either way, but I put a wand to Harry Potter, like
Right?
so not necessarily the witch aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I think it's kind of cool that they just have powers in their hands and they could just magically like just snap and just like say a spell. And it kind of made it really cool, and especially like the green smoke that comes out of their hands.
Hmm.
I think that's really good. Like it's like fun. It makes it more fun. What do you guys think of the smoke coming out of like the chimney and stuff when they're like doing different things?
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really know if there's like a significance like to each color because I know that there's different colors like compared to like the house and like the school. I know are two different colors, so I don't know if there's any
I think the
meaning towards
school
that
was
or
representing each one of their colors essentially. Like they
yeah.
were going up, and then when the fire went out, they kind of all went back down that chimney at the school.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that was funny. They didn't know that it was a school, and they're like, "It's a place that they keep children, and they
Yeah.
can smell like the children." They didn't realize it was a school, and then and then Max and Danny and I forget what the girlfriend's name is. They all
Allison.
trapped
Allison.
Allison.
How do you forget?
I don't know.
Allison.
And they trapped them into the thing, and I think it's funny that they have French playing in the background and just trying to trap them
Yeah.
into the furnace thing or whatever that thing is.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say for teenagers, they are really smart because I would not have been able to come up with that plan.
Mm-mm.
Like she literally opened up the oven that was like in the back of that restaurant and then she was like, I have a plan. And I'm like, how the crap do you come up with a plan that quick?
Right? Exactly.
But it was a genius plan. I mean, in essence, it was a genius plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I also think it's so funny how the witches are trying to follow these kids through the whole movie, and these kids are very, very like clever kids. And they're just like, "Oh, we're gonna hide from them," and they hide from them, and then they go looking for them and they can't find them because they're hiding somewhere.
Yeah, I found it funny when they were starting to get frustrated with them and Mary was trying to sniff out the children and she ended up going to Ernie or Ice Ice's shoes that they originally stole from Max. But technically, it was his shoes,
Right.
but it was the wrong boy.
Yeah.
Right. And then they put him up in the cage in their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the bird cage.
Yeah. I guess they're like bird cages or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was funny, but I like how Ice and his friend calls him Hollywood. Hey, Hollywood. Because he's from Hollywood. Max is from Hollywood. And they just tease him through the whole movie. And I just like Danny, like at the part where they're at the house and she just went trick-or-treating and Danny made her upset. Like before Max made her upset, sorry. I can't talk today. And they're just like messing with her and Danny's like the spunky ass kid and saying stuff,
Yeah.
And kind of mocks Max as far as Max's little I love Allison sort of
right
thing. So yeah,
I think
and
all little
it shows the relationship of the bratty little sister.
Right. Yeah.
Why she had to be named Allison is beyond me, but
and I also think it's funny though, when they go and mess with when Ice and his friend messes with her and she's like, my brother Max is gonna beat you up. And he's like, no, those kids are gonna kill me. I thought that was funny. You know,
yeah.
and then they go to Allison's house and she like sees Max and she's like so excited to see him and stuff.
And then Danny embarrasses him again. Like, what do you call them, Max? Her yabos?
Yabos, yes.
Yeah.
Max loves your yabos.
And he's like, thanks.
Oh my gosh.
And she kind of made a joke about it too a little bit.
Yeah, it just the character development was really, really good and quick enough that they could get everybody there and have it all make sense.
And then her mom used to run the museum of the Sanderson sisters, and Max is like, yeah, let's go, and Danny's like, no, I'm not going there. I heard about it in school, and the look on her face as she's like eating the witch lollipop, she's just like, no. That's such a funny part because she's like, no, I don't want to go, and Max is like, yes, you're going.
Well, I wonder if if they moved there, like, before October, say, and he had heard about the stories previously, because I think, at least I took it, like, when the teacher at the very beginning of the movie talked about the Sanderson sisters and their story, that was, like, the first time he was hearing about it. So I wonder if he would believe it a little bit more if they had moved, like, sooner, like, say, like, the spring or summertime.
Yeah.
I would
think.
Go ahead, Jen.
I think that because it was kind of that last minute, right before Halloween move, he didn't have time to buy into the local folklore. I mean, every town has some little thing that they believe, but he didn't have the time.
Right, I agree, and I think every town has their own every small town has their like own secrets as well, and like oh, this witch is gonna come, or this monster, or this vampire, or whatever. And I just think it's interesting how this town revolves around the Sanderson sisters, and everybody in the town knows who they are.
Well, they knew who they were, but then when they try, I guess it was just like you have to think like an adult. But like everybody knew who they were. But then when Max and all of them tried saying that they actually came back, like they like refused to believe him. Like the dude who dressed up like a cop or whatever on the sidewalk, he was like, "Get out of here." But
yeah, and especially the scene when they're when they go to this town hall and Max gets on the stage and says the Sanderson sisters are there. Nobody believes that it's actually real, that they're actually there.
And they were standing right there in the middle of the crowd. I don't know.
I wonder if it was more of they thought it was three women dressed up like.
Well, see, that's what I thought. But the way, like, especially like if you watch the movie and you see like not necessarily Winifred's reaction, but like Sarah and Mary's, like when everybody started looking at them, like they started acting like all scared, like, oh my gosh, we're actually gonna be caught kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe part of that too is they don't understand Halloween, that everybody's wearing a costume and
Yeah.
their clothes in their mind are what we would consider a costume.
Right. Yeah, I think so too. And also don't forget they were like, and like I don't know, like I guess she said basically hell because Winifred said, I was in hell. I loved the place or something like that. And they could have been in hell for 300 years until Max lit the black candle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the party real quick and just say how insanely jealous I am of their Halloween party. Like I've always wanted, like I'm not big on dressing up, but if I was to go to a Halloween party like that, I would definitely dress up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I don't know that there's actual Halloween parties like that.
Oh, I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
We're just not invited.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, if you're listening to this and you actually have a Halloween party,
Invite us. We'll come.
We'd like to go.
We'll get on a plane and go. Anywhere
we can
you
dress
guys
up
are.
as the Sanderson sisters.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. I just enjoy this movie as a whole just because it's one of those fun movies, and I just like all the costumes and like the scenes that they do. The sceneries like really well, and the costume designs really well, and like how the cinematographer got like all the like different like scenes is really interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the cemetery too. The way that they made the cemetery, that's really cool too. And how they made all the tombstones and stuff.
Yeah, they made it look really realistic. I don't know if that was shot, because I know some of the movie was actually shot in Salem, but I was reading an article and they said that like the driving parts and like certain other parts was actually filmed over there. I think they stayed there for like a month and filmed whatever they needed, but then they did the rest obviously over in California.
Mm-hmm.
Jen might know because she lives close to there.
I don't know how much they filmed in Salem, but I think that's probably another reason why I like the movie so much, is being able to go and see, you know, the house that they used, and just the feel itself of Salem is a lot of how they depicted it in the movie. And then with the second movie, they're filming that in Rhode Island, so it's nice to be local to those, just so that when the movie comes out, you can kind of put a sight to how they changed it to fit into the film.
That's really cool. I want to go visit it someday.
I do too. And even though we're not talking about it, whenever they filmed Halloween Town, I really want to visit that place too. I can't think of what it is right now, but
yeah, that's also a good movie to check out.
Yeah.
If y'all want to check out Halloween Town, that's also a good Disney movie. It's a Disney original movie. The Hocus Pocus is not a Disney Channel original movie. It's just a Disney movie. But yeah, I also like Halloween Town too. It's one of my favorites. But yeah, I also like the scene in the cemetery when Billy comes up out of the ground. That's such a good scene as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when they say wake up, when Winifred says wake up, and he just comes out and he doesn't start talking right away because he has his lips like sewed together.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was a kid and I watched it and Billy started talking, I was like, wait, wasn't he just have his lips sewn and now he's talking? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how he started talking. He just started talking.
He cut his lips open.
Yeah. With a knife. Yeah.
And he's like
a lot of things to say to Winifred.
Yeah. And he kind of non-verbally said them when he first came out of the grave, even though, you know, we didn't know that he didn't like them. He was done. He was just kind of like, you know, whatever. I'm not doing what you're asking me to do. So
right. He told her to go to hell.
Yeah.
And that's when she
said, go ahead.
That's when she said, "I've been to hell. It's lovely."
Yeah. I was gonna say, going back to what you were talking about, Katie, like when he first like rose from the grave, we'll say, I found it funny, humorous at least for me, is when he first sat up and then like he kind of like looked at himself and he was like, what the crap happened? And then he turned around and seen his tombstone and then he just like threw his hands up in the air and be like, oh, fantastic.
Yeah, great, I'm dead.
Right. Well, I think because also it said like they didn't even have his name on the grave. I don't think it's some unknown person, I think, on the grave. I think that's why he
I
also
can't remember
threw
what the
his-
tombstone said, but
Yeah, I think that's also why he threw his hands up, because it didn't have Billy on there or his last name or anything like most tombstones do. I think it just had like, this is an unknown person.
yeah.
No, it did say that it was his body.
Oh.
But then it said lost soul.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's the part that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that I was like, huh, interesting. How is he a lost soul? Did they like I wish they would do a backstory on him, because he's kind of a cool character.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like a cool like mini like Disney series. Like they do like with Olaf or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one, at least for Halloween time for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, I think so. Just because he's kind of like a cool character and you don't know how he dies. Winifred just brings him back to life and you don't know exactly like if what he did like before that. All you see is he's just kind of like a zombie. Zombie type of thing, you know. And then he just comes out of the ground and he's trying to get the kids, and the kids are like in the cemetery, and the witches can't really go in the cemetery, I don't think, or one part of the place where they can't go because they were running from them, and Billy's like, come over here, they can't get you here.
Yeah, they can't step on hallowed ground.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, because who would want that? Witch might just turn into dust if they go on hollow grounds or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also thought it was clever of Max when he was like when he goes, the witches will turn to dust in the sunlight, and they got the car when they took Danny again, and he's like, let's just put the red tape on the car. I thought that
like
was
daylight savings time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really like interesting. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. They did that, and then they're like melting or something, pretending to be melting, and then they're alive, and she's like, Winifred's like, get off of me, you guys.
I think at that moment Winifred was just flat out pissed, is because if you got to think like Sarah and Mary were trying to get her headspace back, is because they had all the children and everything at the very end at the house, and then Winifred's like, no, I want this one and only child. It's like, okay, that's fine, whatever.
We have these hundreds.
Yeah. And so she takes the vial of the potion, because before that they tip over the potion, and there's only like one drop, and she's like, this one drop is for Danny because she called me ugly. I thought that was funny. I thought that was funny. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, out of all the witches, I think Sarah's the prettiest one out of all of them.
Yeah. I found it kind of interesting going back to that, like how they called them ugly. If you remember at the very, very beginning of the movie, when Thackeray Binks was actually in the house right before they turned him into a cat, he said, nothing in the world can make thee thine beautiful or whatever. So like they were basically calling them ugly too. But,
right. I don't think they caught on to it really good.
No, they didn't. Fun fact, did you guys know, because I didn't know up until like a couple years ago, I'm a huge NCIS fan. Did you know the guy who played Thackeray Binks is Sean Murray, that plays McGee in NCIS? I don't know if you guys watch NCIS.
No.
I don't watch that show, but I've heard of it.
But if anybody knows it, because I got flabbergasted by that, with the fact that I didn't know that piece of information.
Interesting. And there's a lot of pieces of information that you don't really know, like the voice of him when he's the cat. He's also the voice of Max in Goofy movie and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
James, I not Jason something,
Yeah, I can't think of it right now, but
but yeah, he's also the voice of Max in a Goofy movie, an extremely Goofy movie, which is interesting because Disney likes to make other actors kind of be in the same like voices, I guess, do and they always try to find like people that are good like voices. And I also think it's kind of cool that Max is kind of like this cat that can talk, kind of like Salem and the Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
yeah, I got really sad when they turned him into a cat and his dad didn't like. It's not that he didn't want anything to do with him; like he just didn't know that that was his son. But that made me really sad. So there were a couple sad parts in this, but
Right. But yeah,
he got run over before we knew he couldn't die.
yeah.
oh, yeah.
I remember recollection the first time I watched this when he got ran over. I literally was like Danny and like was sobbing.
Like, why did they kill the cat? It's only like a quarter of the way into the movie. What is going on? Come on, Disney.
Right. Right. And you know cats have 9 lives, so eventually he'll come back.
No, that's true. I didn't think about that at the time, but
they say cats have 9 lives, but who really knows? But yeah, I also find that part sad. I used to cry at that part when I was a kid because I was like, the cat got ran over, you know, and I was like,
they
oh,
kind of made it humorous when Billy's fingers got cut off by the sewage drain, and I mean, kind of just deflected on maybe you're sad for a minute, but then he just lost all his fingers, and now they're gonna get in a bus. So
right, exactly. And I didn't realize that the director of this movie, Kenny Ortega, is actually the guy that did High School Musical as well.
Yep.
I did not realize that until I saw it last night when I was watching it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's the same guy that did High School Musical. So you know it's going to be like a good show because his directing is really good. He's done
I mean, obviously I like Hocus Pocus more, but I did like High School Musical.
I don't think I've ever seen High School Musical.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you watch Hocus Pocus, you're all right.
You're okay. Yes.
Yeah. High School Musical is okay. I just watched because Zac Efron's in that movie. And I like Zac Efron. That's the only reason why I watch High School Musical. But I also think Kenny Ortega is actually a really interesting director because he did some of the choreography for High School Musical, and most directors don't do stuff like that, and that's why I like some of his films as well, just because it's like interesting that he actually wants to be part of the choreography. So he could have been part of the choreography when they're dancing in the town hall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hadn't really thought of that. And I like the videography of all the scenes.
Me too. Videographers are really, really cool people, and cinematographers as well, because they're the ones that have to tell the actors where to stand and how they're gonna have to act, and they have to make their mark, which I find is interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And I know that the second movie is calling for a lot of dancing, from what they're looking for extras and things like that. So
let's go be extras.
Yeah.
I'll be an extra. I'm not a very good dancer, but I'll be an extra.
You either have to know how to dance really well, be a man with shoulder length hair, or between the ages of 18 and 22. So I'm out.
I fall into 0 of those requirements.
Yep.
I'm out too. So what do you guys think Hocus Pocus 2 is going to be like? What do you guys think? Do you have any speculation, or what do you guys think it's going to be?
I honestly have no clue, but I'm sure with whatever they come up with, it'll be amazing.
I actually read a book. I don't know if you guys have read the Hocus Pocus.
I have not.
I personally have not.
So the second half of it is actually the sequel, I guess, to Hocus Pocus. So if they go based on that, it's going to be Max and Danny's children going through all of this and bringing the witches back again. So it'll be interesting.
That is an interesting story, because I wonder what the witches are going to say, because, you know, they'll probably be mad at Danny and Max and try to go after them again, but then they're adults, so that's going to be kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But in the movie, Allison and Max were married, or in the book, I'm sorry, Allison and Max get married, and I want to say it's their daughter that is kind of the main character at that point.
That's interesting, and then the cousins can play off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Have they casted anybody for that yet? Like any Hocus Pocus 2 characters?
I know from what I've read, all 3 of the witches were coming back. But I don't know on as far as if that's true or...
Yes, all 3 of the witches are coming back. I heard that, but they're still casting for it.
I think it's coming next year, isn't it?
Come up. They just started filming.
So we'll have to do a movie review on that one. We'll come back next year and do a movie review on that one. But I think it's going to be an interesting concept just because of what kind of technology we have nowadays versus when the first Hocus Pocus came out. Sorry, I can't talk. When the first Hocus Pocus came out, I think with the new technology that we have, because, you know, like when they're flying, you can actually see the CGI, and I think they can hide it more now versus back then.
Yeah, we have the green screens and everything now that we didn't really have then, so.
Yeah, that's why I say this movie's also really interesting, like with all the smoke and like everything and like the power coming out of their hands and stuff and how they made it like different colors and stuff. I think they could also make that more elaborate too nowadays as well.
Yeah, I think for the special effects for the first Hocus Pocus, just because it was made in '93, I thought was really cool. Just for like what they had, I mean, they made it really work for themselves.
Yeah, I agree. They and I also like how the technology, like if you were watching it now, the technology, it still holds up. It's still a good movie and it still holds up very well. But the technology that they have now could even make it even better potentially.
Yep, completely agree on that.
You know, because back then they didn't really have much technology and they just had to use what they had.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a lot of films back then were like really low budget films because of that reason, because they had to either cut cost on the effects or cut cost on like the costumes. So a lot of stuff they had to just like find around.
Yeah.
But I think this movie also for back then made pretty good, like in the movie theater. I think in the box office it made really well, did really well in the box office, I think. Did it come out around Halloween time when it first came out?
It came out in August.
I was about to say, I want to say it was like towards the end of August, I think is when it came out. So, I mean, kind of ish.
Halloween starts August 1st, so summer's over, Halloween starts.
That's always how it goes. Or they push Christmas. Like every store you go to has Christmas and Halloween now.
Yep. And then Christmas will start November 1st.
So what are some Disney movies you guys watch around this time of year? That are like Halloween or whatever you guys watch.
Obviously all the Halloween Town movies. I think there's 3. There's either 3 or 4.
There's Return to Halloween Town. There's Halloween
Calabar's
Town,
Revenge.
Halloween Town High. So I think there's 4.
4?
Yeah.
I think so. 3 or 4. Yeah.
I was about to say, I just know that the last one that they changed. Oh my gosh, I can't think of her name right now.
They changed Marty's character.
Marty, there you go. Yep. Which I wasn't a huge fan of because, like, growing up, like, you not necessarily develop a relationship, but like you get to know the character and the person who plays that character. So when you switch it, it's like it throws you off like majorly.
Yeah, and you just focus on that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what are some movies you would like to watch around Halloween time, Jen?
I like the Halloween Towns. I also do like the Tower of Terror movie, the Haunted Mansion movie with Eddie Murphy.
Hmm.
But I don't think that I watch them particularly for Halloween. It's something that I could watch anytime. So
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way. I can watch any of those all the time. So I normally watch all the Halloween Town movies. I watch Hocus Pocus. I watch like Phantom of the Megaplex. That one was such a good one.
that one was good too.
Hmm.
Yeah, that one's a Disney Channel original that used to air, and that came out in 2000. And I watch Mom Has a Date with a Vampire. That one's really good
That one
too.
was good too.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are like some of the movies that we like to watch around this time, or even just like through the year. Sometimes it's just good to put on a movie through the year. And you
Mhm.
guys watch Hocus Pocus through the year, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. And then you also have the controversial, some people say it's Halloween, some people say it's Christmas, but The Nightmare Before Christmas,
Mhm.
I consider more of a Halloween movie, even though it does have the Christmas essence into it. But
Mhm.
I've also enjoy watching that. But I actually didn't watch that. I watched it the first time like maybe 4 years ago.
Oh wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to watch that one all the time as a kid too.
For
Have you
some
seen
reason,
like
I can't get into it. I don't know what it is.
Well,
I
see, my
love it.
family, they didn't really consider it like a Disney movie. And so growing up, like I never watched it.
Mhm.
And then a bunch of my friends was like, Allison, you at least got to give it a try. And I'm like, all right, it was on Disney Plus. So I was like, I'm already paying for a subscription.
I'm gonna watch everything.
So
right?
I tried watching it. And I mean, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to watch this like 20,000
Mhm.
times. But I was like, okay, yeah, I can kind of get into this.
Right. Nightmare Before Christmas has a huge cult following as well. A lot of
Mhm.
people like that movie. It's a Tim Burton film, so it's more a little darkish because
Yeah.
most Tim Burton films are darkish. Because if you look at Alison in Wonderland, the live action Alice in Wonderland, he kind of made that darkish as well.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Yeah, that movie I really couldn't get into as a
I
kid or now.
no. I feel like you need to have a drink and then watch it, and it maybe will make more
Yeah,
sense.
exactly.
Especially Johnny Depp being the Mad Hatter, and he looks just like so weird in that movie as the Mad Hatter, especially like how the costume is and everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter are in a lot of his movies, Tim Burton films as well. But I think I liked looking out of the Alice in Wonderland ones. I think I liked Through the Looking Glass better than Alice in Wonderland as a live
Mhm.
action. That
Yeah.
one's a little bit better, I think.
Yeah,
Especially
well, I can't really have an opinion on that one because I've actually never seen the live action one. I'm a big Johnny Depp fan. Like, I like him in the Pirates of the Caribbean. But when it comes to that, like, I don't know, I just
right.
can't really get into that. Or what's the other one? Willy Wonka that he's in.
Yeah, he
Like, I'm
made
just
that.
like, I don't know.
I
They
say he's a
portrayed
gay
him.
Willy Wonka.
Yeah, they portrayed him so creepy in those
They
movies.
did.
I mean, he does have a very dark persona about him, but they
I mean, he's
portrayed him.
funny.
Oh, absolutely, but he was very creepy in both of those movies.
I
Yeah.
think with Willy Wonka, I think to be honest, he's supposed to be like more of a like a creepy like gay person or something. I don't know. They just kind of made him weird. Like he's like always smiling and he seems like he's gonna be a psycho killer in that movie or something.
Yeah, that the psycho killer is probably the best description, I think.
You know, he's gonna be like a psycho killer in that movie and he's gonna kill the children or something. That's what I always think when I see that one. But that's the way that the book is though. If you ever read the book Willy Wonka and the
Oh, is
Chocolate
it?
Factory, it's actually Charlie and the
Huh.
Chocolate Factory. If you ever read the book's kind of like that. So I
See,
think
I'm more of like a movie person than I am book. The only ones that I've seen both the movies and the book is the Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, those are really good. I like those. I read them too.
Yeah.
And those are on Disney Plus as well, and those are really good, like Christian like movies.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that too. I mean, like, that's kind of dark as well, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're kind of dark movies. Well, the first one, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are good movies too. But I also like Johnny Depp and Sweeting Todd. Do you guys like Sweeting Todd?
I've never seen it.
Mm-mm.
He's the that's also a Tim Burton film too. He's the barber and he kills people.
No, I mean, like, I know what it is and I've heard about it, but I've just never personally watched it.
It's a really good movie as well. Yep. So, we went a little bit off topic, but that's okay. That's what happens sometimes. We're just like all three of us. We're all Disney people, and we like movies and Disney. So we cannot not talk about Disney. Come on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially because it's a Disney episode. So, do you guys have a favorite ride in the parks that you guys go to?
Splash Mountain.
I love Rocket Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I like that too.
My favorite is Space Mountain, just because I like how it's a dark ride and it's a dark roller coaster, and how you can, like, if you like actually are on the top of the ride, you can see like galaxies and like shooting stars, and I think that's really cool.
I can do Space Mountain once. Once. That's all I can do. Now, Rock and Roller Coaster, I
They
think.
could just leave me on all day. And
Well, I was
I'd be
about to
fine.
say, like, when me and my sister went with my aunt and uncle, I think in one trip, I think we might have rode it like 4 or 5 times in one day. So, I mean, granted, some of those like were with fast passes and stuff, but there for a while, like, we literally, because they're like basically right next door to each other, we just went Rock and Roller Coaster and then Tower of Terror, and then went back to Rock and Roller Coaster, and then maybe rode something else, and then went back. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they could leave me on all day. I'd be happy with it.
Well, yeah. Hollywood Studios at that time was probably like a one-day park anyway. They didn't really have many rides back then either. So you either rode Tower of Terror or Rock and Roller Coaster a lot of times.
Now, is there a ride you guys haven't ridden?
I haven't ridden the Astro Orbiter.
See, I haven't ridden the Teacups.
The Teacups
And I
are
might
so
get some hate for
classic.
that. I was gonna say I might get some hate for that, but
I think I've gone on everything there.
I also still haven't gone on the Millennium Falcon ride or the Kylo Ren ride either.
well, that's kind of a given for me because I haven't been since 2018. It's either 17 or 18, but
I was
Going
actually
soon.
up there a week before Toy Story Land opened and Galaxy's Edge opened, so I never got to see Toy Story Land or Galaxy's Edge. But I want to, though, because I want to try Slinky Dog roller coaster because a lot of people say it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And
it's
I didn't
really quick, but it's fun.
And I didn't know that ride has actually 2 launches in their ride.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, in the beginning and okay, yeah.
And then in the middle, when you go through the half circles or whatever.
But say now that I visualized it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they do.
I think it's more like a corkscrew, isn't it? More like a corkscrew.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like a lot of fun, that ride. And I also want to go on Rise of Resistance because that looks like a lot of fun. And I think it's kind of like Dinosaur Ride, isn't it?
Rise of the Resistance is like immersive in my opinion. Like there's kind of 3 parts to the ride. And it's trackless, like kind of like Remy's is, which makes it, I think, that much more fun because you really can't see the tracks. You know where you're going because there's the markings on the floor, but it just kind of makes it feel like it's random and it really is happening.
Right. That's probably one ride I don't want to be stuck on. Just because it's trackless and like, you know how like if you get stuck on a ride they have to get you off. How are they going to get you off of there?
It almost looks just like a black like glass floor underneath you.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of cool though how they envisioned that ride and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of working parts in that, and I mean, you can once you get to go on it, you can see why it breaks down all the time.
I'm sure Remy's might do the same thing once it gets started.
I think it's been doing that already, just in like the previews.
It's been breaking down.
Yeah, it's kind of like anything. I think they have to figure out the kinks and what works, what doesn't work, and
Right.
eventually it'll work better than it did in the past.
Right, exactly. I think those rides are more susceptible than the other rides, I think, just because they're newer and the Imagineers don't really know like they know how it's gonna work, but they don't really know like if it's gonna break down or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's newer technology, I think.
Absolutely, and the number of people that it's taking, they test it for so many people, and then it's just taking more and more because the parks are getting busier and busier. So
Yeah, I
Well, and
think so.
people, they don't realize is when the ride breaks down, like people don't realize that it's like running at a constant. So eventually it is going to break down because it needs a break. And basically the only time it gets a break besides when it breaks down is park closing. But sometimes park doesn't close till like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
mm-hmm.
And then they're right back up at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. So
Yeah.
they don't really get a break.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they don't. And I like being stuck on the Haunted Mansion because that ride's just so cool to be stuck on.
It gives you the opportunity to really take in everything that's going on around you. Because when you're moving, I feel like you focus on whatever's in front of you and not the widescreen picture.
Right. Yeah, I like the Haunted Mansion too. Do you guys like that ride?
Oh, I love that ride for 2 reasons. The seats and the air conditioning. I mean, I'm usually a person that can take the heat, but I like my air conditioning every now and then.
It gives you the opportunity to just kind of like dry off a little bit.
Yes.
Right.
Like it's not like too long, but it's long enough for you to kind of like cool down and relax for a minute.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I've been stuck in the attic part, like when you go through the ride you're pushed out of the attic. That's really cool to be stuck in the attic because there's so
Yeah.
much hidden things in the attic to see and stuff like that. Cuz when you're going backwards, that's when you're being pushed out of the attic by the bride.
There's a lot of things to see that, I mean, you could ride it 100 times and probably see something completely different the next time. So
Right. Yeah, I wish they would do the Nightmare Before Christmas layover just because I want to see that so bad.
yeah, I would definitely want to see that.
Do they do that for Disney World or do they just do that for
No,
Disneyland?
Just Disneyland.
Just Disneyland?
They can't do it for Disney World.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Because I forget what it was, but they just can't do it for Disney World. They can only do it for Disneyland. And actually, the gingerbread house for that ride is actually made there.
Yeah, I knew that.
Which is really interesting that it's made there, and they do a different theme every year, which is really cool. They do like something different from the Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's really cool. They must have to take that ride down like for a couple of days and then bring it back up or something for that.
I think it was like a week or two that they shut it down and then they open it back up.
I was about to say, I think it was a couple years ago. I watched the documentary on Disney Plus. They did that with like the creating of the Nightmare Before Christmas, and they like went into the kitchen and showed like how the gingerbread was made and everything and how they transported it all, and it was kind of cool. I like seeing the background stuff. Like I like seeing it, like when you walk into a park, I like seeing stuff magically appear, but I also like the behind the scenes stuff on how this happens.
Me too, yeah. Especially like how they get all the Halloween decorations up for like overnight, and then they get all the Christmas stuff up overnight, which is really interesting as well. And it's just like they have to like work like consistently around the clock all night to get it done. I mean, like I don't think they get it all done in like one night, but you can see like it changes dramatically.
Mhm.
I think they might do like the flowers and stuff. Maybe no, they do the flowers overnight too. They do something kind of like secretly, like while people are still in the park, but like the
Right.
decorations for the castles, the flowers, and like other stuff. Like I know that they do that overnight.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I actually fell in the flowers at Epcot when I was little. I was over by Spaceship Earth. I was over by Spaceship Earth, and my dad and I were just sitting on top of like, you know, the railings. And I don't know, I just lost my balance, I guess, and I fell into the flowers. My dad's like, guess what? Now I have to pay for the flowers. So guess what? You're staying in the park. It was so funny.
That's something my dad would say.
It was so funny. And I was like, thanks, Dad. He was like, nope. Now you have to go to Disney jail underneath the place. That's funny. It was so funny. And he's like, yeah, the security guard came up to me and I have to pay for that. It was funny. I was laughing. But yeah, I hope you guys had a fun time on this episode. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys know where to find me. You guys can find me on Popping the Popcorn on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also find all of us on Facebook or Instagram. And also you can find us all in Disney groups because we're all in different Disney groups and stuff like that. And we always have a fun time over there.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I hope you guys had a great day and be safe, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.